Hey, what's up YouTube, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. Today I'm going to go over things you should consider when rolling for Xiao. Xiao has been released about 10 months ago, and I want to make this video because I see a lot of misinformation spread amongst the Genshin Impact community. I'm going to talk a lot about his strengths and his weaknesses in comparison to the current meta. First, let's go over Xiao's power level in comparison to the other teams in the Spiral Abyss. Before we start, I want to preface that Xiao is still an extremely strong unit and can be used in the current Spiral Abyss, but it is a lot harder for him compared to their DPSs like Eula, Hu Tao, and Ganyu. Xiao does not do great against the new wolves in the current Spiral Abyss. They have tons of HP and an extremely annoying corrosion effect. Whenever Xiao uses his plunge attack, he knocks back the enemies, making it harder and harder to get a good Spiral Abyss time. On the other hand, Xiao does extremely well against the 3 Magu Kenki. The 3 Magu Kenki are like boss targets that tank all the damage and don't flinch or move when Xiao uses his plunge attacks. With this in mind, you can use your Xiao plunging attack just to straight plunge in the middle on all the 3 Magu Kenki with the shield and beat it with relative ease. This Spiral Abyss, of course, is extremely bad for Xiao, but I don't think should be the reason you avoid rolling on him. Spiral Abyss usually resets and changes about every character release, so instead of not rolling on Xiao for this Spiral Abyss, I think you should instead determine if you want to roll on Xiao based on the units likely to come in future Spiral Abysses. This will lead us to talk about Xiao's playstyle. Xiao's playstyle purely revolves around plunge attacking. He excels in dealing with large clumps of small enemies, but finds a lot of trouble when fighting larger enemies in comparison to the other DPSs. When it comes to fighting larger enemies, Xiao is average at best. Currently, there is only one character that can boost plunge attack damage, and that is C4 Albedo. If you have a C4 Albedo and want to utilize it, I recommend rolling for Xiao. Besides C4 Albedo, he really has no other support to increase his plunge attack damage. Now let's talk about the Animo element for Xiao. The Animo element is the best support element in the game, seeing that it can shred elemental resistances. It easily clears elemental shields by being able to swirl multiple elements within those shields, and there are a few things that are Animo resistant. The only ones being the Wolf of Boreas, the weekly boss, Animo Slimes, and Animo Specters. The problem with Xiao being a DPS and one of the best supporting elements, he has no damage amplifying reactions. But this is usually not as much of a problem because all of his damage is based on his scalings. The Animo Resonance buff increases stamina consumption by 15%, it also increases movement speed by 10% and shortens skill cooldown by 5%. This buff is great in the overworld when you want to run around and explore things, but in combat provides less viability. Shortening our skill cooldown by 5% is great, but when compared to the Pyro Resonance buff and the Geo Resonance buff, it pales in comparison. Next, I want to talk about a problem people have for Xiao a lot, and that is his energy issues. Because Xiao's DPS output outside of his burst is pretty terrible, you're usually going to want to activate his burst, which costs 70 energy. When you run Animo characters with Xiao, you're going to have to use their elemental skill and then swap back with Xiao to catch the elemental particles. When comparing Xiao teams to most Geo comps, it's a lot easier for them to get elemental particles because they have their constructs on the battlefield all the time. These Geo constructs and characters will continuously generate elemental particles for the new character taking the battlefield. Another character that will help with this energy issue is Ball, which is rumored to get a rerun in the next few banners. Ball can generate tons of elemental particles and basically battery up your entire team comp. Those were all the basic meta facts I've discovered when playing Xiao. Now I'm going to get into unique mechanics to help you optimize your Xiao's damage. These aren't any really meta breaking facts, but they're unique tips that I found out while playing Xiao. The first mechanic I have for you guys today is being able to plunge attack while being on level ground. If we look at me, I'm on flat ground and I can't jump plunge with Xiao. But if I utilize my dashes, then I will be able to jump plunge with Xiao while being on the ground. If you are fighting a one large single target enemy, it's best to weave a charge attack with your plunges. As you can see with this comparison, charge attacking can do quite a lot for your DPS damage.
Worthless.
The next tip I have for you guys is building off the charged plunge attack from Xiao, but adding the animation cancel. It is extremely easy to do, and eventually it just becomes habit whenever you ult with your Xiao. So as you can see, this is a normal charge attack on Xiao, but we're also able to cancel the end of his animation by performing a mid-air jump. As we jump, it cancels the animation, and this small amount of time saved through our animation cancel can allow us to perform more charge attacks or more plunge attacks.
Evil conquering! Worthless! Worthless!
With Xiao being Animo and in DPS, he's extremely great at taking out elemental shields. With the no blessed domain being a lot of trouble for early game players, Xiao takes it out with relative ease. And it doesn't even really matter that my Xiao is heavily invested. Xiao can take out the shields the same way at any AR at any level.
Worthless!
Finally, I have one trick to bypass being unable to get energy from your E skill inside your ultimate. Even when you are in your burst ultimate, Xiao is still able to gain energy. The only thing you can't do is gain energy particles from your E skill during your ultimate. So if we were therefore to use both our dashes and then enter our ultimate, we will still get all the particles from our E skill. So the trick to utilize here is using both our E charges and then going in with our burst skill. As you can see, we still have the energy from our E charges. Next up, what we got is when you plunge attack with Xiao, he literally can't take any fall damage. So if you're a new player and start scaling a large mountain and you don't have enough stamina, you can always plunge attack down, which this will segue into my next fact. One of Xiao's passive talents makes climbing 20% easier. So if you're having trouble climbing, Xiao is a great character to utilize that for. That about wraps it up for my Xiao guide. If I missed any cool features on Xiao, make sure to leave it down in the comment section down below. And in the end, only pull for whoever you want. If you don't care about any of the reasons I pulled for Xiao and just like how he looks, go right ahead. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to make sure I see you in the next video.